observation. So is that, does that give you the science side of things?
Yes, I was aware of the CERN faster than light particle story.
Yeah.
I've long been anti-Big Bang, so I just think the truths are coming out, and there's not going to be anything they can do to stop it. So they can.
Well, yeah. The other one that I haven't mentioned is that fractals appear in space. They appear in pulsars. There's fractal geometry from the spacing of pulsing stars, and there are fractals in nature. We know that. We see them. You can look at the trees. You can see the branches. You can, the Mandelbrot set. So these fractals appear in mathematics, in observation of the very large in space. And if you would take this fractal mathematics, you got rid of the c from the constant speed of light and the gravity effects, you would probably find that string theory could grow up in real terms or grow out of the quantum. And once you have string theory out of the quantum, you have opening and closing strings. And the opening and closing strings are what we've observed. So string theory to me is not quantum. There will be needs for adjustment to that string theory, and that's by some of the faulty theory that needs to be got rid of. And then we will have the serpents in the sky and the cosmic serpent that created everything. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Okay, the next question is from forum member Jules. Paul, orbs seem to be everywhere. Since writing your book, can you speculate on what their purpose is or what they are? Some think they are spirits of the dead or at least fragments of their consciousness, and others say they are glitches in the matrix where life's standing waves of energy or resonance meet. What do you think orbs are, and what is their purpose?
Right. There are multiple functions of this energy. Again, I will be missing parts, because what you're seeing is an orb, which is the single sphere which maintains that shape. So you need to understand that is constantly transforming from delivering its energy in a saturation of energy. It's giving up its energy through strands. So the functions, if I had to put them into categories, I would say that there are planetary orbs or planetary gobs that form matter, or matter forms on them. There are soul-based orbs which carry the soul even in the dream time out of the body. And I had some very interesting photographs which I don't show because of particular reasons, of a schizophrenic when linked spheres were pouring out of her. And it was an interesting series of photographs. Of course, I knew, you see, I believe that an individual can be spiritually possessed. And I believe that these spheres of consciousness that the Buddha talked about can actually move into people and basically enter into their frequency and their field. So that there's a lot of things going on here. They give energy to plants that are growing. They create matter. So that there's not one simple answer. So there is many aspects to the orb and the energy and its transmutations that is basically saying that these are creative forces, and I believe that the human soul consciousness is a separate issue. We didn't really spend a lot of time studying the orb consciousness or the soul consciousness. We just take that as a thing on faith, I suppose. Is that any good?
Yes, thank you. Gemini is gonna jump in here now.
Thank you, Peace for Gaia. Up next, we have Uranus rising.
Hi, Paul. Lovely to speak with you again. I feel like we're neighbors, you in Wales and me in Scotland.
Yeah. Well, my ancestry is from there anyway, so it's the Muir, right. the people of Muir. Yeah.
Yes, it's great. In your book, you write about and provide a lot of photographic examples of orbs, waves, and bars. Would you speak a little bit more? I know you've touched on it, but would you speak a little bit more about how you captured them on camera and the video recordings?
Right. Well, this is, I think we didn't have a set procedure we didn't know what we were going to expect. We didn't know what we would make of it. We just entered this thing just using what I considered to be a best method. So I started with taking photographs, probably in the early digital days. I think it was a 1.3 megapixel camera with a 16 megabyte hard drive on it, so that they wouldn't hold that many photographs. And then I progressed into 3.1 Canon and 3.2 Canons. Mm-hmm. And what we would do is I would be taking on a probably a 128 megabyte card. So we would be taking probably about 250 photographs an evening, and we started to develop different techniques to try and gain better ideas of what was really happening. In about 2005, John joined me and joined the research, and we were then working off much larger hard drives or SD cards in the cameras. And we would probably take about 500 photographs a night, maybe more, maybe 750, depending on whether we were taking out the second cameras. Mm. So what we did is we were, all this time we were categorizing the orbs. So we took them in snow, rain, hail, lightning, summer, winter, autumn. We took them by power stations. We in one of the talks, we were actually invited to go to a nuclear power station, but there were a number of people there at the time, and we didn't. It's when you get so many questions about these things, we didn't follow that up because Hinckley's just not far away from us. So we were looking at the effects of nuclear power on these orbs, and of course there is a lot of orbs are seen over nuclear power stations and mistaken for UFOs stealing energy from the power station and manufacturing their warp drives or whatever. But that is not the case. You know what I mean? I do. I did like Star Trek when I was a kid, and but I'm 50 now, and I've grown out of that. So anyway, So going back to the technique, what we would do then is flash. In digital cameras, you'd have like a preview at the back of the camera. You take a photo, you look at it. And so what we started to do then, once we'd taken in every single condition, and of course in lightning we got that one great image of the two orbs attached to the pine tree, and it was just like,
Yes.
wow. We had the
Yeah.
hawthorn ones in the spring, and we had those. See the hawthorn ones in the spring where the orb is attached to a point on the hawthorn branches, and it breaks down.
Uh-huh.
It looks like the burning bush, because you've got this red and colors coming out of it. So it's delivering its energy, and because it's delivering its energy, it's slowed down. So let's just, if we just take the technique that we were developing at that time, is we'd flash a photograph, see an orb, hold the camera at that point, flash again, and flash again. And so what happened is slowly the stages of what that energy was doing unveiled itself to us.
Wow.
So you had its transformation, right, from one stage to another. And basically the orb would come on a plant, it would deliver energy in. Like when I was giving the talks in 2004, I was going, well, we think it's this, but we're not sure. Well, now we're sure. You know what I mean? I think that once you've taken enough of them, and then I've suggested to many orb researchers, blast photography. So you blast it off, it flashes, you blast it off, you flash it, and eventually you'll get slow moving orbs. And it will give you great detail of what the process is. And then you start slotting the detail in, and suddenly you find you've got string theory. But there's a lot of other things. Or you've got some of the things that string theory is said to do. So obviously there were, and again we're going, well, is it dust or whatever? So we shot with two cameras. So we have one camera in one hand, one in another. Say 1400. We measured it as 1.4 meters apart, the cameras, and they can. It takes a bit of time to get the technique right, but once you've got a distinct orb with a hole in it at a certain location, and it's got to be fairly central to the picture, so you're starting to define things. You can get common orbs in the photographs. So if I take a photograph in my right hand and a photograph in my left hand, and then point them at a direction just slightly tilted towards each other, that what scientists say is it's a reflection off dust in front of the lens, you can dismiss. Because both of those are recording the same orb at a position. Sometimes they will move from left to right. Because one will be in, and then we surveyed the sides and we measured it, and we put one of those shooting with two cameras in the book. But also we had what we believe is the fundamental to understanding the particle and wave theory. When John was filming a video with a digital camera for taking photographs, and we captured the three-sphered wave in a wave format, and because I pressed the button seconds after him, we captured it in the sphere format. So it breaks out of the wave and the sphere. So we know that, this is why we can assume that light has a constant speed, and this is why the rules will break down.
Yeah.
So these techniques.
So you've actually then documented these orbs transforming.
Well, we put parts of the process, like we could say, well, we got mushroom orbs, right? They look like mushrooms, and then we got the orb. There's one that spins and creates like an arrow effect. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I think that I was thinking about this thing needs research funding. There's no doubts about it.
Yeah.
And it needs people not to. It really does need to take science forward, because once we know this, we will relearn what our ancient ancestors knew. So we're only moving back